Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. Today I have 5 super underrated commanders that I think just need to see more play. These are very strong commanders that either just got overlooked or people just aren't very interested in them. So I've got 5 different strategies for you today. We're going to go over the commanders, and in the comments down below I want you guys to vote on which one of these decks you want me to completely flesh out. With that being said, go ahead and click on that link and claim your free $15. Additionally, you guys can get 10% off all of your Tolarian library proxies whenever you use code DT4D. I'm now sponsored with Baron of Dice. This means you guys can get 5% off whenever you guys use the code DT4D or click the link in the description down below. I'm a huge fan of the awesome art on their deck boxes and just the way they look in general, and you can pair up those awesome deck boxes with high quality playmats that match those deck boxes. Thank you, Baron of Dice, for sponsoring this channel. The first one I cheated on. Number 5 is going to be a partner pairing, but these partner pairings aren't paired very often together, and I think they could be very, very broken and probably could create one of the most thematic Hydra decks I've ever seen. Everybody knows a Hydra. Once you cut off its head, it's supposed to grow 2 back, but Magic really doesn't portray that well in a lot of cards. Some it does, some it doesn't. There's hit or miss, right? I think these commanders could pull it together. We have Tana the Bloodsower and Reyhan the Last of the Abzan. Reyhan is a 3 CMC creature, 1 black, 1 green, and 1 generic, and it says whenever a creature you control dies or is put into the command zone, you get to move those 1/1 counters onto another target creature. So now we have to double up those counters, right? So let's say we have a 5/5 Hydra, and a way to double up our counters, we sacrifice the 5/5 Hydra, and then it's going to be able to get 10 counters put on another Hydra, technically doubling the heads, right? And then I want to play Tana the Bloodsower. This is a 4 CMC creature that's 2 generic, 1 red, and 1 green. It says trample, and whenever Tana the Bloodsower deals combat damage to a player, you get to create that many 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens. So this could be a fun way to generate a ton of mana. Let's say, again, same scenario, we have that 5/5 Hydra, but now we kill the Hydra, and then we put 10 counters on Tana, deal combat damage, generate 10 1/1s, and now we can sacrifice those 1/1s for mana to cast even bigger Hydras. And you can just pair this in with the Jund strategy of sacrificing large creatures for value, and it pairs with the Hydras because the Hydras are coming back twice as big because we're using counter doublers. I think this is a very, very fun deck idea, and I hope this one wins, but I'm a little bit biased. The next one I'm going to talk about, I just don't think people know exists. It's Sakiko, Mother of Summer. This is a 6 CMC legendary creature snake shaman that says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you get to add that much green mana to your mana pool. Until the end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So essentially you have Old Gnawbone, but it's snake instead. So you could just deal a lot of damage, generate a ton of mana, and then cast your massive creatures, but you can do this all on a budget instead of spending a ton of money to buy an Old Gnawbone. Pol Jamar is another card that I think could be very, very strong, and people just overlooked it because it's 6 mana, which fair enough, but honestly, in your command zone, if you build around getting 6 mana, it's very possible. This is a 6 CMC creature, 4 generic and 2 blue, and he has flying, and whenever Pol Jamar Illusionist enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, draw a card for each creature you control of that type. So it's basically an ETB deck, but you don't have to build it around a certain creature type. You just have to build a blink strategy. So the goal should be to blink this guy as much as possible, include your clone effects, that way you can go ahead and cast clone and draw even more cards, and this just ends up being a deck that tries to see how much creatures it can create of the same type as fast as possible, and then you either want to blink him or cast a clone spell to get a ton of card advantage. I would also pair this with maybe an artifact strategy, that way we can go ahead and turbo this guy out very fast. 6 mana is a lot, but remember, Eldrazi gets there all the time, so Mono Blue is going to get there as well. I think this guy could be very strong, and I think he's a little bit slept on, and honestly, I think people just threw him to the wayside because of that mana cost, but I think he, again, could be very, very strong, and I think he's just underrated. Shaun and Rebecca. I think this is a card that got overlooked because, honestly, the art's not very interesting, but I think the game plan is. This is a 4 CMC creature, 1 generic, 1 green, 1 white, and 1 blue. He has Vigilance, or they have Vigilance, and then whenever they enter the battlefield, you get to search your library, your hand, the graveyard, anywhere, and then you get to put the Animus onto the battlefield. They also have an ability where you can tap them to add 1 generic mana to your mana pool, and then you also get to mill 2 cards. So this is just going to be a mill strategy in green, white, blue, which I'm here for. Let's read the Animus because that's a huge part of this card. The Animus is a 2 CMC legendary artifact that says at the beginning of your next end step, exile up to 1 target legendary creature card from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Until your next turn, target legendary creature you control becomes a copy of target creature card in exile with a memory counter on it. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is going to be one of those decks where you want to add a lot of tap synergies, you want to add a lot of untapped synergies, you're going to put in your voltaic keys and stuff, you're going to ramp with artifacts, even untapping our commander to mill even more cards. So this is kind of like a unique mill strategy that also wants to focus on legends, and then you can just turn your creatures into very, very broken legendary creatures. You're kind of going to cheat mana cost here, and that's what's very powerful here. Anytime you're cheating mana cost to get broken things onto the battlefield, you're going to end up with a very, very strong commander. But again, these guys just don't see very much play, so I just wanted to shine some light on them. The ever-changing Dane. Now, when this card was released, I literally just threw it to the wayside, but I've got an idea that I think could actually be very, very fun with this commander. This is an Esper commander, so 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black. It's a legendary creature shapeshifter. You can pay 1 to sacrifice another creature. The ever-changing Dane becomes a copy of the sacrificed creature, except it has this ability. This is going to be very, very strong with either die triggers or even ETB triggers, and then we just try to give our creatures persist and undying. So now we can play Kakusho the Evening Star. Whenever it dies, you deal 5 damage to each opponent and gain that much life, and you can kind of get 2 triggers out of it, maybe even 4 triggers, right? So let's say we give all of our creatures persist. We're going to go ahead and sacrifice Kakusho the Evening Star to our commander. Then Kakusho's the Evening Star is going to come back, and everybody's going to take 5 life, and we're going to gain 15. Then we sacrifice our commander, and then that's going to be another Kakusho Evening Star, and since our commander also had persist, our commander's also going to come back. So you can kind of see where we can just loop die triggers in and out of the graveyard, and this works the very same for ETBs. Then you can include your stuff like Feign Death that makes it to where creatures come back, so we can always make it to where our commander comes back, and you're just sacrificing a lot of creatures. You're cheating mana cost in a way because you're able to just get 2 instead of 1, and then you're getting these broken effects that you're not supposed to double up on. And I think it's just going to end up being a more unique deck than I thought, and a lot more interesting than I thought at the same time. With that being said, that's all of our decks. You guys have a Hydra Jund deck, you guys have green Stompy, you even have mono blue artifacts that generate a massive board state of creatures. So go ahead and vote in the comments down below. I'll see what the most commented is, and then I'll go ahead and flesh out an entire deck tag. With that being said, I hope this helped you guys in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you guys in the next one.